Dr. Layla Al-Fayed sat in the observation room at NASA's Deep Space Network, staring at the signals coming through the receivers. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a random burst of electromagnetic radiation, just another cosmic anomaly. But as the frequency shifted, something caught her attention. It wasn't noise, it was intentional. The signal came from the moon. Her brow furrowed. The moon had always been studied, but this was different. The pattern was structured, not chaotic like typical space phenomena. A series of pulses came in rhythmic intervals, almost like a heartbeat. She turned to her colleague, Dr. Samir Hassan, a linguist who specialized in ancient scripts. "Samir, you need to hear this," she said, calling him over. They both leaned in closer to the console. The signal had changed, no longer just a static hum, it now mirrored the human voice, though at first, it was unintelligible. Layla's fingers hovered over the controls, activating the signal enhancer. As the hum cleared, a new message emerged, coded and fleeting. It seemed like a series of ancient, lost languages intertwined with mathematical sequences. "We're not just hearing static. We're hearing a call," Samir said, his voice trembling. "Why now? Why the moon?" Layla asked herself. The signal grew stronger, more insistent. Then they heard a phrase that sent chills down their spines: "The time has come." Dr. Rami Sabri, the commander of NASA's Artemis II mission, was briefed immediately. The mission's goal had been simple: to collect lunar samples for research. Now it was no longer about rocks. The moon was calling, and the question was whether humanity was prepared to answer. The team aboard the spacecraft began their descent toward the lunar surface, but something felt off. The usual calmness of space exploration was interrupted by a strange tension, a quiet anticipation. They weren't just landing on the moon, they were walking into the unknown. As the lunar lander touched down, the signal from the moon grew clearer, more pronounced. It was as though the very surface of the moon was responding to their presence. Commander Sabri's instincts told him this wasn't just an artifact. They were being drawn to something hidden beneath the surface. "We need to find the source of the signal," he said, adjusting the controls. The team followed his lead and started their exploration. They didn't know it yet, but their every movement was being watched, monitored by forces older than anything humanity could comprehend. After several hours of exploration, they found it, buried beneath a ridge in the southern pole of the moon. A large, spherical object, roughly 5 meters in diameter, lay half buried in the dust. Its surface was smooth, unlike anything natural. The team had never encountered anything like it before. As Dr. Layla Al-Fayed approached the object, she felt an unsettling pull, a magnetic connection to it. She reached out and, almost instinctively, placed her hand on its surface. The moment she did, a low hum vibrated through her fingers. The object seemed to pulse in response, glowing faintly. The holographic interface that appeared next was unlike any technology known to mankind. A web of intricate geometrical patterns unfolded, and symbols, strange and unfamiliar, began to hover in the air around them. "The object is more than just a signal generator," Dr. Zainab Al-Rahim said, her voice filled with awe. "It's a gateway, a message carrier." A sudden, almost imperceptible shift in the symbols made Layla stop. Something about it felt wrong. The symbols didn't simply convey data. They seemed to read their thoughts, reacting to their emotions and desires. There was a sense that the object was alive, or perhaps, aware of them. A message flickered across the interface: "We have waited for you. You must choose." As the crew analyzed the symbols, they began to unravel the core message encoded within the object. The moon had never been a natural satellite. It was a construct, a machine left behind by an ancient civilization. But this was not the twist, it was just the beginning. The object's origin wasn't just a product of an alien species. It was built by an ancient race of humans. Yes, humans. Thousands, perhaps millions of years before any of them were born, these humans had reached the stars and created the moon to serve as a sentinel, a storehouse for knowledge, and an archive of their forgotten civilization. "This isn't an alien message. It's ours," Dr. Zainab said, her voice filled with disbelief. "This civilization, these people, they were us. Or they were the ancestors of us." The holographic projections revealed scenes of Earth's early history, vast, technologically advanced cities, but with an unsettling and haunting conclusion. The ancient humans had left Earth and placed the moon in orbit as a silent observer, a way to preserve their knowledge while keeping watch on their distant descendants. "They were us," Layla murmured. "The moon was never just a satellite. It was a key. We were always meant to find it." As the team delved deeper into the object, it began responding in ways that went beyond their understanding. It was more than just an artifact. It was alive, connected to something beyond the physical realm. And it was waking up. The object emitted a low, resonant sound that seemed to echo through the lunar landscape. It was no longer just a relic. It had become a living entity, one that was guiding humanity back to its origins. But why now? What had triggered the awakening? "We've unlocked something we didn't fully understand," Commander Sabri said, his voice tense. "This isn't just knowledge. It's a warning." The object began to display cryptic images, strange, incomprehensible scenes of cosmic destruction, of galaxies torn apart by a force beyond the control of any civilization. The civilization that had created the moon had been wiped out by this force, and they had hidden the moon as a last line of defense. "This message," Samir said, his face pale, "it's not just a history lesson. It's a warning. Something is coming, and it's worse than we could ever imagine." As the days passed, the object became more and more integrated with the crew. They discovered that it didn't just transmit information, it communicated directly with their minds, adapting to their thoughts. It was as though it had become an interface, a conduit for something far greater. Layla, who had always been skeptical of the mystical, felt herself drawn into the experience. The more she connected with the object, the more it seemed to share with her visions of a distant future, of worlds beyond the stars. Yet in those visions something wasn't right. The images were clouded, incomplete, as if the future itself was being obscured. At one point, as Layla tried to decipher a particularly cryptic message, the object responded with a chilling sentence: "You are not the first to awaken." The implication was clear. The object had been discovered before, by other civilizations, other species. And in each case they had failed. The chamber darkened once more as the interface pulsed slowly, its light syncing with the crew's heartbeats. The atmosphere was heavy, not from gravity but from the weight of history, revelation, and responsibility. They had uncovered the truth. The moon was not just a satellite, but a vault, a sentinel, a message in a bottle cast into cosmic tides by a civilization that had once stood on the precipice of annihilation. The artifact, sentient and ancient, had offered them knowledge. Mathematics beyond quantum theory, energy systems capable of powering planets, languages of extinct species, and star maps stretching across multiple galaxies. But there was a warning encoded in every data stream. The moon had been created not to observe, but to hide. Its creators had shielded it from something vast, something incomprehensible, a force so devastating it had devoured stellar empires and turned sentient stars into darkened tombs. The moon was a mask, and Earth had unknowingly lived under its protection. The interface addressed them again, its voice a multi-layered harmony that resonated inside their minds. "Will you accept the knowledge and with it, the responsibility?" Commander Sabri paced the edge of the chamber, sweat collecting at his brow despite the lunar chill. This isn't just a question. It's a trap. If we accept it, we're not just inheritors, we're being marked. Layla turned sharply. "Marked by who?" Sabri paused. "Or by what?" The crew exchanged glances. The interface had been withholding something. Pieces of information were missing from the data, gaps that seemed too purposeful to be accidental. Dr. Amar ran another diagnostic, cross-referencing the knowledge packages they had received. "What is it?" Layla asked. He looked up pale. "The archive. It has a memory log. Multiple access points recorded over thousands of years." "You mean others have activated it?" asked Najwa, stepping forward. Amar nodded. "Yes, at least 6 times. And every time, it ends in silence. There's no record of what happened to those species afterward. Just disappearance." Layla swallowed hard. Maybe they failed the test. Then the interface flickered. The lights dimmed. A new projection burst into being, unrequested. A starfield unfolded above them, zooming rapidly past nebulae and dying suns until it stopped at a small hollowed planet orbiting a red dwarf. The planet was charred, its surface riddled with circular impact craters too precise to be natural. Symbols, similar to those on the moon, were etched into its crust. The voice returned. "You are not the first. One chose ambition. One chose silence. One tried to run." "Run from what?" Sabri whispered. The projection zoomed again, this time to a black expanse, a void in space where even starlight curved unnaturally. The interface strained, distortion crackling across its systems. "It hears us now." Panic washed through the crew. Amar's instruments began to fail, monitors going blank, lights flickering. Outside, the moon's seismic sensors registered a faint vibration from beneath the core. "We have to decide now," Layla urged. We either take what we've learned and prepare Earth, or we bury it all and hope it never finds us. Sabri stood still, caught between two apocalyptic outcomes. Then Najwa, who had been silent for minutes, spoke with sudden clarity. What if this isn't a gift? What if it's bait? A test to see who takes the fruit of knowledge, so that it can find them. The chamber fell silent. The interface shimmered once more, revealing a final message in the air. You must choose. Acceptance is awakening. With a trembling hand, Commander Sabri approached the control panel. One button pulsed with faint blue light. Layla stepped beside him, her voice steady. If we say yes, we alert whatever's out there. But if we say no, we might never be ready when it arrives anyway. Sabri's fingers hovered. He looked at his team, his friends, and then pressed the button. Yes. The room responded with silence. No lights. No sound. Then the floor beneath them opened. Not physically but perceptually. The chamber blurred, their senses wavered, and they felt themselves being pulled, no longer grounded in space or time. A single phrase echoed as everything went black. Now you are the beacon. The sensation of falling ended as suddenly as it had begun. The chamber reassembled around them, but it was changed. The once silent walls now pulsed with new energy, the color of deep space ion storms and forgotten nebulae. The artifact, the interface, no longer spoke. It watched. Layla was the first to rise. Her breath trembled in the suit's mic. What just happened? We're still on the moon, Dr. Amar confirmed, scanning his instruments. But something shifted. It's like we're out of phase. Time is slower here. Or faster, Najwa muttered. Commander Sabri stood silently, staring at the interface. It had transformed. Once a lattice of light and glyphs, it now resembled a cosmic eye, gazing into something far beyond human comprehension. A low pulse reverberated through the floor. Not seismic, dimensional. The crew felt it in their bones. Above them, Earth shimmered in the dome's view like a fragile jewel. Then it began. The interface projected a new sequence, not of the past, not of the ancient builders, but of now. Live feeds from Earth's orbit, deep space listening stations, and telescopes flickered to life. Everywhere, across every spectrum, the same phenomenon was happening. The signal had changed. It was no longer one way. It was being answered. Back on Earth, chaos erupted. At Jadrell Bank, radio technicians intercepted the returning signal. A complex pulse, layered with data packets that Earth's best AI systems couldn't even begin to unravel. The waveform contained musical harmonics, emotional imprints, and symbols drawn from no known logic. And then came the twist. The returning signal didn't come from one direction. It came from within the solar system. Dr. Amar's eyes widened. It's not extraterrestrial. It's local, Layla finished, her voice barely a whisper. Najwa stepped forward, looking pale. The moon wasn't just a vault. It was a relay. A disguised node of a network hidden in plain sight. There are others, buried in places we haven't found. The interface confirmed it with a burst of new projections. Mars, Europa, and Enceladus, even deep beneath Earth's own crust. Ancient relay points dormant, until now. And they had all woken up. But more troubling was the silhouette emerging in the projection. A spacecraft, or something like one, large enough to eclipse small moons, drifting slowly toward the edge of the solar system. Its shape was impossible, constantly folding and unfolding in fractal geometry, as though it refused to be perceived entirely. Is that the one watching us? Sabri asked. Layla shook her head. No. That's the one called by the beacon. Then the interface showed them what the ancient builders had tried to stop. A planetary archive, the last message of the civilization that had created the moon. Their final log was corrupted and decaying, but one word repeated throughout. Run. And then another message layered beneath, barely a whisper. It doesn't kill because it's evil. It kills because it listens. Sabri turned, horrified. We didn't just alert it. We invited it. The interface flared one last time, showing a countdown. A sequence in an alien numeral system translating too slowly for even Amar's AI to decipher in real time. What is it? Najwa asked. Time, Layla said. Until it arrives. The countdown blinked. 11 days. Commander Sabri stared out at the Earth, now silent in the chamber's projection, and whispered, We've made contact, but not with what we thought. The 11-day countdown began ticking, not in minutes or seconds but in events. Global systems subtly shifted. Satellites failed to respond. Deep-sea cables registered phantom signals. And a new celestial object, previously invisible, was now detectable in the Kuiper belt, drifting inward with impossible inertia. But on the moon, the interface offered one final communication. A simple message in translated script. You are the beacon. Prepare the world. Commander Sabri and his crew returned to Earth with heavy hearts and loaded minds. The moon had given humanity more than knowledge. It had given them a choice. At the UN Assembly, Sabri stood before the world's leaders. The footage from the lunar vault played behind him, unfiltered. The alien archive, the hidden nodes across the solar system, and the shape that approached from beyond. This isn't a threat, Sabri told them. It's an invitation. But not to peace. To reckoning. The room fell silent. Layla met eyes with Najwa. It's not about them, she whispered. It's about us. The test is internal. Over the next days, the moon began broadcasting a new signal, broad, loud, directed at Earth's population centers. It carried no words, only a deep, resonant tone and an image. The Earth split in two. One half vibrant, teeming with life. The other scorched and dead. Then came the invitation. Not from the interface but from somewhere beyond. It arrived encoded in gamma-ray bursts, an elegant, eerie fractal that resolved itself into a structure intelligible to human AI. Not a ship. Not a weapon. A threshold. On the moon's surface, the hidden spire erected days before began reshaping itself into a kind of crystalline arc inside. A corridor of pure white light emerged. Dr. Amar decoded what it meant. It's offering passage. But only to those who are ready. Layla narrowed her eyes. Passage to where? No answer came. But the twist was this. The interface reactivated and showed the Earth's biosphere not in real time, but projected. One path led to a renewed planet, united under shared stewardship. The other, to collapse, civil war, resource annihilation, and extinction. And behind both paths, the dark object from the Kuiper Belt drifted closer. Not malevolent, simply observing. Najwa finally understood. The artifact wasn't built to protect us from it. It was built to protect it from us. Everyone turned. What if we're the threat, she said. What if the reason it destroys is because civilizations like ours reach a point of awareness, and then devour everything? What if this is the filter? The invitation, it turned out, was not to salvation. It was to judgment. Layla looked to the stars. We thought we were the inheritors. But we might just be the next species under trial. And far above them, the countdown ticked to its final phase, not in days but in decisions. The world stood divided. On one side, scientists, philosophers, and visionaries urged unity. The invitation, they argued, was not a trap but a final test, a gateway to humanity's next evolutionary phase. The threshold on the moon shimmered nightly now, a permanent aurora against the black sky, pulsing with unseen rhythm. On the other side, world powers grew fearful. If the artifact could read thoughts, manipulate matter, even shift gravitational fields, what else could it do? Already, small anomalies were appearing across the globe. Animals behaving strangely, magnetic fields realigning, dreams shared between strangers. Layla's dreams became increasingly lucid. In them, she saw herself standing at the center of the threshold. Beyond it, a city of light, not alien but strangely human. Built by hands that were once hers, or perhaps would be. Time itself had begun to blur. Commander Sabri called for a final vote among the international coalition. Go through the threshold, or shut it down. Forever. The moon's final message, delivered simultaneously to every device on Earth, was cryptic. The seed will awaken. With or without you. Dr. Amar revealed one last twist. The Kuiper Belt object, codenamed Omega, was not approaching randomly. It was in synchronous trajectory with the moon, responding to its energy. The artifact was calling it. Humanity had triggered something ancient and powerful, and it was coming closer by the hour. And then the unexpected happened. Najwa intercepted a transmission. Not from space, but from beneath the moon's surface. It was not in the same language as the artifact. It was older, more primitive, as though etched in quantum residue. A single phrase repeated endlessly. We tried to stop it. Panic spread among governments. Was the threshold a door, or a lure? And what had the previous civilization meant by tried? Sabri stood before the threshold, the crew behind him. They had been chosen to decide, not by power or politics but by proximity to truth. He looked to Layla. If we don't go, he said, we may never know what we were meant to be. And if we do, Layla replied, we might not return. They stepped forward together. As they crossed the crystalline arch, time dilated. Their bodies dissolved into light. Earth held its breath. And just before the threshold closed, the artifact sent one final pulse back to Earth, an encrypted map of the galaxy, dotted with hundreds of other worlds, each one crossed out. All but one. And in that moment, the moon went dark. A new sun rose within its hollow shell, bright, artificial, and watching. The trial had begun. Light enveloped them, total, blinding, without warmth or shadow. Layla felt herself dissolve, not painfully, but with a strange sense of release. Her thoughts stretched, thinned, bled into the unseen fabric of space. Time unraveled. She felt both ancient and unborn. Then, sensation. Her feet touched solid ground. Or something like it. She opened her eyes to a horizon that defied definition. A city unlike any ever imagined rose before her. Its towers spiraled like frozen lightning, humming with the faint sound of music too complex for ears. The air shimmered with a soft aurora, casting spectral hues across structures made of glass, crystal, and something far more alien. The others were there. Commander Sabri stood next to her, expression unreadable. Samir and Zainab were already scanning their surroundings, awestruck. Najwa reached out as if trying to grasp the shimmering particles drifting between them. Data? Memory? They had crossed over. And something was waiting. Far above, what looked like a second sun burned in the sky. Not a star, but a luminous eye at the center of an immense orbiting ring. It pulsed softly like a heart. They were being watched. As they stepped forward, the city shifted. Pathways unfurled beneath their feet, folding into existence from nothing. Bridges built themselves ahead of them. Gravity fluctuated subtly, tugging gently at their atoms. The architecture seemed responsive, alive. Then the voice came. It wasn't sound. It was thought, translated through memory and emotion. A deep presence spoke from every direction, shaping itself to their understanding. You are not the first. You are the last. The crew halted. Images swirled in the sky, memories from civilizations long dead. Thousands of worlds, each one marked by intelligence, ambition, fear. Each had found the threshold. Each had failed. But Earth was different. Earth still lived. Layla felt a new presence now, one that had been silent until this moment. It came not from above, but from within the city itself. A being of soft radiance emerged, a figure with no face, no voice, just a presence that resonated like a remembered dream. As it approached, a cascade of images filled Layla's mind. Earth's future, its possible futures, its inevitable intersection with the cosmic force known only as Omega. You stand at the final gate, the being communicated. Not to escape, but to choose. The city dimmed. A wall opened behind them, revealing a massive chamber, the archive. Within floated holograms of alien ruins, warning symbols, encrypted maps. Each display told a story of resistance, collapse, and sacrifice. The crew understood now. The city was a failsafe, a last echo of an ancient civilization that had tried to stop what was coming. Omega wasn't a weapon. It was entropy given form. And it was listening. Samir stepped forward. Why show us this? Why choose us? The being responded with a single memory, not theirs but inherited. A memory of Earth's distant descendants, civilizations that could exist if the coming extinction was prevented. A memory of a future where humanity thrived, spread, and became the light in the dark. Layla stared into the vision, tears in her eyes. This isn't salvation. It's responsibility. The city's heart pulsed once more. A new construct unfolded before them. A vessel, sleek and translucent, hovering above the archive floor. It bore no controls, no engine, just a single destination encoded in light, the location of Omega's core. They had a choice. To return and warn Earth. Or to go further. To confront the force before it reached their world. Commander Sabri looked to his team. No one spoke. Together they stepped into the vessel. The city dimmed behind them. The faceless being raised a hand in farewell. And as the craft ascended into a rippling tunnel of light, a final message shimmered across the city's skyline. All civilizations must choose what they become, light or ash. The vessel vanished. And far behind, on the moon's surface, the threshold flickered once more, then sealed. Darkness returned. But far beyond the stars, something ancient stirred. Omega had felt them. And it was no longer waiting.